What's going on, YouTube? Today we're going to talk about sight fishing tips that have really helped me a lot this spring putting fish in the boat. We've had a big spawn come up early this year, and I've been able to fish a lot, not for a tournament because of the coronavirus, and that's allowed me to really spend a lot of time looking at these fish and not stressing about time or trying to find a pattern and just trying to catch big ones. So I was out there today. I'm back here in the garage. You can see the fan running behind me. I got rained on, it ran me off the water. So I figured I might make a video for you guys. So first I'm going to talk about how I go about looking for these spawning fish. Down here in the Richmond area, the water isn't super clean. So I spend a lot of time looking for fish pretty close to the bank. I've got my good polarized Costas. I've got 2 pairs and I switch the lenses back and forth depending on the water conditions and the light and stuff like that. But generally your copper-based lenses are better than your silver-based. Lighter, they show color in the fresh water a lot better. But when I'm going along, I take my 682 medium, that's a medium light 6.8 Dobbins rod with a Wacky rig, a weightless Wacky rig, and I just burn down the bank, especially if I'm around docks. And I'm just tossing that Wacky rig along the grass lines and the docks. And I've picked up a few bucks here and there, but you always want to have a bait in the water. Another one that I've done a lot this year is just tossed along the man's -1, and that's on a 705 CBMF glass on the Champion. That's an awesome rod and setup, but that's for another video because I could talk about that all day long. But when I do see one, you'll see a white spot typically, maybe, or a dark spot with a white ring around it. Typically you can see them pretty good. Down here they've been pretty shallow. The deepest I've seen one is 3 or 4 foot. From there, as soon as I see that light spot, I try to stop what I'm doing. I don't drop the poles because that'll make even more noise. I just get off the trolling motor and look around. Because more than likely I've spooked that fish, but I've spooked it and now I can see it swimming around. If I see a flash or a shadow, then I'll turn the trolling motor down, turn around, and then power pull down at a good angle to see that bed and wait for that fish to come back. Once that fish comes back to the bed, I try to watch it for a second before I actually cast in there. I want to see whether there's 2 fish there, the male and the female, whether that fish is actively guarding the right side of the bed, the left side of the bed, the middle of the bed, or if it's just swimming in circles around the bed. Once I kind of get a feel for what the fish is leaning towards, how it's acting, it's hard to describe without being there, but the more you do it, the more you'll understand what I'm saying. I pick up typically a Texas rig and something white so that I can see it, especially down here in the dirty water. A couple of those I like to do is the Zoom Speed Craw. This one is beat up. I had it laying in the bottom of the boat, heads bitten off of it, all that. Just a white Zoom Speed Craw. Toss it down in there, and you can really see this one really well. Another one would be the Zoom Lizard I have laying right here. And I just throw either of those on a simple Texas rig, unpegged, 3/16 ounce weight, and I toss it in there and see how they react. If it's a real aggressive fish, they will eat it in a hurry. A lot of times those bright colors in dirty water will piss those fish off. If they kind of spook out from the bigger bait, like the lizard, or even from the Speed Craw, I've had that happen before, where they are just scared of that bait, or it doesn't fire them up, they don't want to even sniff it, that's when I pick up a drop shot. And my go-to with the drop shot typically is a short leader, like I have here. I mean, this is probably a 6 to 8 inch leader, 3/16 ounce weight, just because with the 3/16 ounce, I can pitch it in there, still keep a light entry, but then once the weight gets in there, I can shake it in place really easily. And this is something that not a lot of people that I've not seen a lot of people do. This is the Z-Man TRD in bubblegum. That bait glows in the water, and I actually learned that sight fishing for a bunch of them on the St. Lawrence. They get fired up, smallmouth especially, when that thing comes in the bed. And right now I'm going to show you a video of a 4-pounder I caught with my brother on that.
Oh, jeez. Grab her, grab her, grab her. Yeah, buddy. Sight fishing 101, baby. Sight fishing, baby.
Now, if you're like me and you're on a lake that gets a lot of pressure, sometimes they've seen a lot of bright colors and they'll either try to fan it off the boat with their tail, they'll look at it and look at it and look at it and not eat it. That's when it's time to start changing colors. I go next to typically a super bug, D-bomb, baby D-bomb, the new Quiver. I've caught a few bedfish on that. I like super bug in the dirty water because it's got that natural laminate. If not super bug, you go green pumpkin, June bug, those natural colors. And then or this cinnamon purple that I have laying here in the Zoom Speed Craw. I like the Missile Baits D-bomb. I like the Zoom's Ultravibe Speed Craw, the baby brush hog. The D-Stroyer is one that is not talked about a lot, and it does really well in the beds. It fires them up if they're liking a bigger profile. You can go down to the baby D-Stroyer as well. But here's a little tip that I've figured out this year that I don't think a lot of people are doing. Instead of a standard Texas rig, I have gone to throwing the Tokyo rig, I'd say 90% of the time. And I keep them both tied on just so I can have both baits in an easy reach. But for those of you that don't want to have both at an easy reach, or just have a lot more confidence in the Tokyo rig like I do, man, this thing is awesome. They see so many Texas rigs come through, and I think what the real difference is when you're bed fishing is that this little weight hanging here, I can take it and drag that weight into a rock. I'm not doubling it up. I'm leaving the flat side here so that it'll actually hang up a little easier. And I can drag that weight into a rock and shake it in place against that rock. Not only is the bait sitting there jumping and waving around, that it's clacking against that rock or stick. And here's a video of one that you can see me visibly shaking the rod, and then I break it off.
That's a giant.
As you can see, that fish I broke off, ended up getting it back in the boat again. One thing that I will say about my setup, I use a braid to leader setup. Where I fish, there's a lot of barnacles in the water because it's tidal fishing, so we do get some brackish water at times. It's very rare, but there's a lot of crap in the water. It's shallow, close quarters fishing. And if I only have 15 feet of line to check for frays, it makes me a lot more efficient, and I just have a lot more confidence in it. The downfall to that is the Alberto knot is so strong and braid has zero stretch that if something's gonna give, it's gonna be the fluorocarbon at the end of my line. So you don't have to set the hook like a maniac. As you saw on that second one, I did not set the hook super hard after I learned the first time not to.
Go. And I got my rig back.
So as you saw with that fish there, I was shaking the bait again. I had hung it on a stick in the back of the bed. And that brings me to the other tip that I don't think a lot of people have caught on to. As a lot of people will tell you, there's typically a hot spot in the bed, a place that gets them fired up, a place that the fish is really protecting. I've noticed with a lot of the fish that I've caught off the beds in the last 4 years that the hot spot tends to be against or near that structure that's next to the bed, the stick that's laying through the middle of it, the rock or boulder that's on the outside of it, or there's a rock that's slightly bigger that you can see. Just some sort of structure is typically the hot spot, as they would call it in the bed. And I think that I don't know why that is, but I've noticed that a lot. And then the ability to keep it in that spot for a long time while creating action is the advantage of the Tokyo rig. But I did something real different with this next fish I'm going to show you. I always carry around a bottle of liquid Mayhem. I don't really use it unless I'm getting short striked or I'm getting a lot of hook sets where I'm taking off pinchers when I'm flipping bushes and stuff like that, and I just think they want to eat it more. Well, that fish, I had actually fished for it earlier in that day and came back to it. And when I first pitched in there, it swam up on my white speed crawl and like nosed it and didn't want to eat it. So then I switched over to the cinnamon purple speed crawl, and it nosed up to it and nosed up to it, but it didn't want to eat it. And so then I picked it up, and actually I took that liquid Mayhem, and it's hard to spread it across the bait. And because when I'm bed fishing, I'm changing baits so much, I didn't want to put it on the bait. I actually put it on the weight itself on this Tokyo rig. And I threw it in there, and I believe it was the next pitch after I threw it in there, it picked it up and ate it, and I had a 6-pounder in the boat.
Yes! What's going on?
I just had a trouble though, right? Just in there, and I didn't even need to because it came off my roof. Where'd you guys at?
Right there in front of your dog.
Thank you guys for watching. Get out there, try the Tokyo rig, go catch some big bed fish with this time off from work or school or whatever you may have time off for. And most importantly, stay safe, subscribe, and like this video. Thanks for watching.